Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. The difference between average and champion isn't talent. It's not luck. It's not what's in your bank account. It's what's in your mind. Average people want it. Champions need it. Average people wait for the right moment. Champions create it. Average people talk about what they're going to do. Champions do it. Average people break when it gets tough. Champions break records. You see, average is comfortable. Average says, I'll start tomorrow. But champions don't have a tomorrow. They've only got now. Champions wake up before the world does, grind before the sun rises, and refuse to stop when pain shows up. Because pain is the price of greatness, and you can't rent success. You've got to own it. Every single day, you've got to wake up and pay the price. The real difference between an average person and a champion begins with hunger. You can't fake hunger. You can't pretend to have it when you don't. Hunger is that thing inside you that refuses to let you sleep when your dream is still unfinished. It's what makes you uncomfortable with mediocrity. The average person says, I want success. But a champion says, I need success. It's not optional. It's not a hobby. It's not a someday thing. It's life itself. The average person wants it as long as it's convenient. The champion needs it even when it hurts, even when it costs everything, even when the world says, that's enough. Hunger doesn't care about tired. Hunger doesn't care about your feelings. Hunger doesn't listen to fear. Hunger pushes you when your body says no, and your mind says stop. Hunger doesn't negotiate, it dominates. Average people dream when it's easy. Champions grind when it's hard. Hunger is the difference between wanting and doing. You can't talk hunger, you show it through effort, through discipline, through pain. When a champion is down, hunger whispers, get up. When they fail, hunger says, try again. When they're doubted, hunger screams, prove them wrong. That's why the average and the champion can start in the same place, but they'll never end up in the same destination. The average stops when it hurts. The champion starts when it hurts. The truth is, hunger is built in silence. When no one is watching, when there's no applause, when the world forgets your name, that's when the real ones keep pushing. The average waits for motivation. The champion creates it, because hunger doesn't need a reason, it is the reason. It doesn't need validation, it needs victory. Every single day the champion feeds that fire. They wake up with a purpose. They go to sleep exhausted. And even then, their mind is still racing, still plotting, still hungry for more. You can't give hunger to someone who doesn't want it. You can't teach it in a classroom or buy it with money. Hunger comes from the struggle. It comes from being counted out. It comes from remembering what it felt like to have nothing and deciding you'll never feel that again. The average forgets their pain once comfort comes. The champion keeps that pain close, lets it burn, lets it drive them to places most people never reach. Hunger separates the talkers from the doers, the wishers from the warriors. It's the invisible line between almost and accomplished. So when the average says, I want to win, the champion looks them in the eye and says, I will win because I'm hungrier than you. That's the difference. Hunger can't be stopped. It can't be silenced. It doesn't rest until destiny is fulfilled. And that's why the champion mindset doesn't just want the dream, it's starving for it. Average people wait, champions create. That's the difference that separates those who talk about dreams from those who live them. The average person is always waiting for the right time, the perfect moment, the ideal condition. They say, when I feel ready, I'll start. But the truth is, you'll never feel ready. Life will never give you the perfect setup. There will always be something missing, some reason to delay. That's why the average stays average, because they live in the land of almost. They almost started. They almost tried. They almost became great. But champions don't live there. Champions don't wait for conditions, they create them. They don't wait for opportunity, they build it with their bare hands. The champion understands that if you wait for life to hand you something, you'll be waiting forever. So they get up and move. They start with what they have, right where they are. Because champions know momentum creates miracles. The average overthinks. The champion overworks. While the average is sitting there making plans, the champion is already making progress. The average says, I'll do it tomorrow. The champion says, I'll do it now. The average dreams about success. The champion builds it in real time. Champions are not perfect. They just refuse to pause. They don't need the plan to be flawless. They just need to take the first step. The average waits for clarity, but champions know clarity comes through action. You can't think your way to success. You've got to move your way to it. The champion's mindset says, I'll figure it out on the way. That's what makes them unstoppable. They take the leap before they see the bridge. They trust their grind more than their fear. The world is full of people who had the talent, had the ideas, had the potential, but they never started. They waited for the sign, for the support, for someone to believe in them. The champion didn't wait for any of that. They believed in themselves when no one else did. They believed in their vision when everyone called it crazy. Champions understand that waiting is the silent killer of destiny. Every second you wait is a second you lose. Every excuse you make is a door closing on your opportunity. Average people are always preparing to start. Champions start, then prepare along the way. The average fears mistakes. The champion embraces them as part of growth. Because you can fix mistakes, but you can't fix regret. Champions would rather fail trying than live wondering what if. The average fears embarrassment. The champion fears wasted potential. That's why the champion moves when others hesitate. They understand action beats perfection every single time. When you move, things start shifting. The universe responds to motion. Doors open when your feet start walking. Opportunities appear when your hands start working. But they'll never show up for someone sitting still. The average waits for a miracle. The champion becomes one. They act on faith, move with purpose, and refuse to wait for anyone to hand them permission to live their dream. So the next time you feel like waiting, remember this: every champion you've ever admired was once just an average person who started. That's it. They didn't wait for the light to turn green. They ran the red light toward destiny. Because champions don't watch time, they make time. They don't wait for change, they create it. Average people talk, champions do. That's the line that divides dreamers from achievers. The world is full of people with big ideas, big plans, big talk. They say they're going to do something someday. They say they're going to start when everything feels right. They love the sound of their dreams, but they never pay the price to live them. They talk about success like it's a conversation. But champions don't need to talk about what they're going to do. They're too busy doing it. The average person finds comfort in conversation. Talking about goals makes them feel productive, like they're moving forward. But feelings don't produce results. Actions do. Champions understand that execution is everything. You can talk for years, plan for decades, dream for a lifetime, but until you act, nothing changes. Champions don't wait for the applause, the approval, or the perfect moment. They move in silence, grind in the dark, and let results make the noise. When a champion says something, it's not a promise, it's a prophecy. They speak only what they're willing to work for. The average person wants to be seen starting. The champion wants to be seen finishing. The average posts motivational quotes. The champion lives them. The average is addicted to appearances. The champion is addicted to achievement. You can't fake results. You can't talk your way to victory. You've got to earn it, bleed for it, and stay consistent long after everyone else gives up. Champions know that talk is cheap because words cost nothing, effort costs everything. The average wants the world to believe in their potential. The champion works until there's no need for words. The average says, I'm going to start next week. The champion says, I started yesterday. Champions don't announce their grind, they prove it. They let their discipline speak louder than their mouth ever could. You'll know a champion not by what they say, but by the results they produce. Every excuse the average person makes, the champion turns into fuel. The average person says, I don't have time. The champion says, I'll make time. The average says, I'm waiting for motivation. The champion says, I'll move without it. The average loves talking about the dream. The champion is living inside it because they put the work in. Champions aren't motivated by attention. They're driven by mission. They don't need to be told they're great. They need to become great. When the average is done talking, they go back to comfort. When the champion is done working, they go back to purpose. Because talk ends when the challenge begins. That's why the average stops when it gets hard. Their energy was in their words, not their will. But the champion, they come alive when it gets hard. The silence of effort is their favorite sound. The grind is their language. The truth is, talking about what you'll do one day is easy. Living it every day is hard. But champions know words fade, legacies don't. They'd rather be known for what they built than what they promised. So talk less. Work more. Don't announce the climb, show the mountain you conquered. Because the average speaks dreams. The champion becomes one. When life turns up the heat, the average breaks, but champions break records. That's the difference. The average person folds under pressure. They let pain, doubt, and fear talk them out of their purpose. They say, it's too hard, and they walk away, but the champion looks at that same pressure, that same pain, and says, good, let's go. Because champions understand something most people don't. Pressure doesn't destroy you, it reveals you. It shows who's real and who's pretending. When the average feels pain, they back off. They see pain as punishment. But the champion sees pain as preparation. Every setback, every bruise, every sleepless night is a tool shaping their greatness. The champion knows growth doesn't come in comfort. Growth is born in the struggle, in the grind, in the moments when most people quit. The average person spends their life avoiding discomfort. The champion runs toward it. They know that the fire that burns others refines them. That's why you can't break a real champion, because they've already been broken and rebuilt stronger. Average minds fear failure. Champions feed off it. When the average lose, they blame, they complain, they stop. The champion studies the loss. They look pain in the face and say, teach me. They turn every failure into fuel. That's why they rise again, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. The average say, I can't take it anymore. The champion says, I can take whatever it takes. That's the mindset that separates the ordinary from the unstoppable. Champions understand that pressure is a privilege. It means you're in the arena, not on the sidelines. It means you're in the game, pushing limits that most people will never test. The average run from resistance. Champions use it to build strength. Every time life says no, the champion pushes harder until no turns into now. They break barriers because they never allow barriers to break them. The truth is, anyone can perform when it's easy. The real test comes when everything's falling apart, when you're tired, when nothing's going right. That's when you find out who you are. The average quits to protect their pride. The champion keeps going to protect their purpose. Pain is not their enemy, it's their evidence. It's proof they're still fighting, still growing, still moving closer to greatness. The average let pressure crush them. The champion lets pressure crown them. Champions aren't born in comfort. They're forged in chaos. They've learned how to take the hits, how to get knocked down and rise again. Every scar tells a story of survival. Every wound becomes a weapon. The average person hides their pain. The champion wears it like armor. They don't fear the battle, they become the battle. And that's why the average stays in the crowd, but the champion stands on the podium. So when life pushes you to your limits, don't break like the average. Break records, break boundaries, break expectations, because the pressure that tries to destroy you is the same pressure that will define you. Champions don't run from the storm, they become the storm. Average people seek comfort, champions seek growth. That's the line that separates those who settle from those who soar. The average person spends their life chasing ease, chasing pleasure, chasing safety. They want the soft bed, the short path, the guaranteed outcome. They want to be comfortable while they grow, but growth doesn't work that way. Growth lives in discomfort. Growth lives in challenge. Growth lives where comfort dies. The champion knows that comfort is the enemy of progress. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you choose to stay the same. The average person says, I just want to be happy. The champion says, I want to become everything I was created to be. Happiness is temporary, growth is eternal. Comfort is a feeling, growth is a lifestyle. The champion understands that if you want to elevate your life, you've got to be willing to be uncomfortable. They train when they don't feel like it. They grind when the world is sleeping. They push through fear, through fatigue, through failure. They know that pain is not a signal to stop. It's a signal to rise. The average mind looks for shortcuts. They want the reward without the work, the victory without the sacrifice. But every champion knows there are no elevators to greatness, only stairs. And those stairs are steep, slippery, and painful. But every step taken in discomfort builds muscle, physical, mental, and spiritual. Comfort might feel good in the moment, but it robs you of what you could become. Comfort whispers, you're fine where you are. Growth shouts, you're made for more. And the champion listens to that voice that says more. Champions live where most people quit. They thrive in places others avoid. When things get tough, when pressure rises, when others say, it's not worth it, the champion says, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, because they understand that every great story begins in discomfort. Every transformation starts with a stretch, and every victory is built on the foundation of pain that others ran from. The average seeks peace of mind. The champion seeks power of mind. Comfort builds weakness. Growth builds character. Comfort tells you to relax. Growth tells you to rise. The champion's life isn't easy, it's intentional. They choose challenges on purpose. They don't wait for obstacles, they chase them. Because they know that on the other side of every difficulty is a new version of themselves, stronger, sharper, and hungrier. The average wants life to get easier. The champion wants to get tougher. That's the difference. Champions understand that comfort zones are beautiful, but nothing grows there. That's where dreams die, in the warmth of good enough. Champions destroy good enough. They wake up every day asking, what can I improve today? The average celebrates comfort. The champion celebrates change. The average protects the familiar. The champion pursues the unknown, because comfort might give you rest, but growth gives you purpose. And purpose is what champions live for. So, while the average chooses comfort today and regrets tomorrow, the champion chooses discomfort today and rejoices tomorrow. Because growth always feels like pain before it feels like progress. That's the mindset that turns ordinary into extraordinary, the mindset that never settles, never softens, never stops. Champions don't seek comfort. They seek evolution, and every time they step into the uncomfortable, they rise a little higher and leave average behind forever. The champion mindset is built on a fire that refuses to go out, no matter how strong the wind blows. When the average person faces pain, they step back, they question, they doubt, they look for an easier way out. But the one with a champion mindset, they lean into that pain, they use it as fuel. Pain becomes their power, their teacher, their trainer. The average person runs from discomfort, but the champion runs toward it, because they know greatness is born in the fire of struggle. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to prove they can go another round. The average person complains about the weight they have to carry, but the champion sees that same weight as the very thing that's building their strength. See, a champion doesn't wait for motivation. They move even when it hurts. They wake up early even when their body says stay in bed. They go to the gym when their mind says you've done enough. They show up when no one else does, when there's no applause, no reward, no recognition, because they're not driven by comfort, they're driven by purpose. Pain doesn't scare them, it sharpens them. It becomes a sign that they are on the right path. They understand that every great victory comes with great sacrifice. The average person gives up when it hurts. The champion digs in deeper. When pain comes, the average person looks for relief, but the champion looks for revelation. They ask, what is this moment trying to teach me? They understand that every failure, every heartbreak, every setback is preparing them for something greater. Champions see pain as a test of discipline, of faith, of hunger. And they don't just pass that test, they dominate it, because they know every scar tells a story of resilience. Every tear is proof they kept going when quitting was easier. Pain separates the average from the great because it exposes who's real. It's easy to talk about success when everything's going your way, but when the lights go out, when the world turns cold, when you're alone with nothing but your dreams and your doubts, that's where champions are made. The average person folds under pressure, but the champion performs under it. They don't break, they build. They take the pain that was meant to destroy them and turn it into power that defines them. The champion mindset says, I'm not afraid of pain because pain means I'm still alive. Pain means I'm growing. Pain means I'm getting closer. They know that diamonds are made under pressure and steel is forged in fire. So while others see pain as punishment, the champion sees it as preparation. Every rep, every setback, every long night, it's not breaking them, it's building them. That's the real difference. The average looks at pain and stops. The champion looks at pain and starts. The real difference between the average and the champion mindset lies in consistency. The average person shows up when it's convenient, when the conditions are perfect, when they feel inspired. But the champion, the champion shows up every single day, whether it's raining or shining, whether the body is tired or the mind is heavy. Champions understand something that most people never grasp. Greatness is not built in bursts of passion. It's built in patterns of persistence. The average person thinks success is about intensity. Those big moments when you go all in. But the truth is, it's about consistency. Those quiet moments when nobody is watching, when nobody claps, when nobody posts about it. Champions are not defined by what they do occasionally. They are defined by what they do relentlessly. They don't need to be in the mood to act. They act and the mood follows. That's what separates them. They've made consistency their standard, not their struggle. The champion wakes up at 5 a.m., not because it's easy, but because that's who they are now. Discipline is not a punishment, it's their identity. The average person says, I'll start when I feel ready. The champion says, I'll start now, and I'll get ready as I go. While others stop when progress slows, the champion stays steady. They know small progress is still progress. They know every rep, every page, every practice, every minute compounds into something unstoppable. See, the average person underestimates the power of the ordinary day. They want the glory without the grind. But the champion embraces the grind because they understand the grind is the glory. They know that the daily habits, the small steps, the quiet routines are what build greatness brick by brick. Every drop of sweat, every disciplined decision, every extra minute, they all stack up. And one day, the world calls them overnight success, and not realizing they've been consistent for years. Champions don't rely on motivation, they rely on structure. They have a plan, a schedule, a mission. They don't let emotions dictate their direction. They show up even when it hurts, even when it's boring, even when it feels like nothing's working. Because deep down, they know consistency always beats intensity that comes and goes. They understand that storms will come, distractions will rise, life will test their commitment, but consistency will keep them grounded. When the average person quits after failure, the champion returns the next day. When others take breaks for excuses, the champion takes breaks for breath, then gets right back to it. They know that true mastery is hidden behind thousands of repetitive, unseen, unrewarded actions. It's not glamorous, it's not fun, but it's real. The average does what's easy. The champion does what's necessary. Every single time, that's the real difference. The average mindset looks for comfort. The champion mindset looks for consistency. Because champions know success doesn't come from what you do once. It comes from what you do always. The eighth key difference between the average and the champion mindset lies in their relationship with accountability. The average person avoids it. The champion demands it. Accountability is the mirror that shows you who you really are, not who you pretend to be when the lights are on, but who you are when no one's looking. The average person hides from that reflection because it exposes their excuses, their inconsistencies, their comfort. But the champion stares right into it every single day because they want truth more than they want comfort. They'd rather be humbled by reality than flattered by lies. The average person says, "I'm doing my best," but they never test that statement. The champion says, "If I'm doing my best, there will be results." They measure their progress, they track their habits, they confront their weaknesses. Accountability isn't a burden, it's their weapon. It's what keeps them sharp, focused, and hungry. Champions don't make excuses, they make adjustments. They don't blame others for their outcomes. They take ownership, full ownership. Because they know that when you take responsibility for everything, you gain the power to change anything. Accountability for the champion is not just about being answerable to others. It's about being answerable to the standard they've set for themselves. They have a code they live by, a promise they refuse to break. The average person says, "No one will notice if I skip this one time." But the champion knows that every time they skip, they're training themselves to quit. So they hold themselves to the highest standard even when no one's watching. That's why their growth looks supernatural. It's not luck, it's accountability. Champions surround themselves with people who tell them the truth, not people who tell them what they want to hear. They welcome correction because they know correction is direction. The average person gets offended by feedback, the champion gets fueled by it. The average wants praise, the champion wants progress. They don't need cheerleaders, they need challengers. They value those who push them higher, who call them out when they start to slip, who refuse to let them settle. You see, accountability is not just a system, it's a mindset. It's waking up every morning and saying, if my life isn't where I want it to be, I'm the reason, and I'm the solution. That's the power of ownership. Champions don't point fingers, they lift mirrors. They look at their reflection and ask, what can I do better? Where did I fall short? What's my next move? They live in constant self-evaluation because growth is their goal, not validation. The average person avoids accountability because it's uncomfortable. It forces them to face the gap between who they are and who they could be. But the champion embraces that discomfort because they know that gap is where greatness lies. Accountability doesn't limit them, it liberates them. It frees them from excuses, from blame, from stagnation. It keeps them honest, humble, and hungry. That's why champions rise while others remain stuck. They're not waiting for someone else to push them. They push themselves. They don't need external validation because their accountability comes from within. The average person looks for someone to blame. The champion looks for something to fix. That's the difference between mediocrity and mastery, responsibility. The ninth key difference between the average and the champion mindset lies in how they face failure. The average person fears failure. The champion feeds on it. The average sees failure as the end. The champion sees it as the beginning. Failure breaks the average person, but it builds the champion. Because while most people run from failure, champions chase it, knowing that behind every defeat lies the secret to victory. The average person spends their life trying to avoid mistakes. They want everything safe, predictable, and easy. They play not to lose instead of playing to win, but the champion knows you can't win big if you're too afraid to fall. They understand that failure isn't a curse, it's a classroom. Every loss teaches them something no success ever could. Every rejection refines their focus. Every setback strengthens their spirit. Champions don't cry over failure, they study it. They ask, what went wrong? What can I fix? How can I come back stronger? And then they rise more powerful, more precise, more prepared. Failure to the average person feels like finality, but to the champion it's feedback, it's information, it's redirection. It's the universe saying, not this way, try again. They don't let failure define them, they let it refine them. They've learned that the road to mastery is paved with missteps. Every missed shot, every wrong turn, every closed door is part of the process. Champions don't get discouraged by the fall, they get obsessed with the rise. Because they know that falling is proof they're still fighting. The average person's ego can't handle failure. They see it as proof that they're not good enough, so they stop trying, they shrink back. But the champion has no fear of embarrassment. They're not afraid to look foolish while they're growing. They'd rather fail in pursuit of greatness than succeed in the comfort of mediocrity. They know the only true failure is refusing to try again. That's why champions outlast everyone else, not because they never fall, but because they never stay down. Every champion has a history of heartbreaks, losses, and disappointments, but each failure forged something deeper inside them, grit. That unshakable, unbreakable spirit that keeps moving forward no matter what. The average person quits after the first door slams shut. The champion knocks again, and again, and again, until the door falls off the hinges. They refuse to let one failure erase their faith. They keep going because they know that success is built on a mountain of mistakes. Champions talk differently about failure. They don't say, "I failed." They say, "I learned." They don't say, "I lost." They say, "I leveled up." Because they understand that failure is not fatal, it's formative. It's molding them into someone capable of carrying the weight of success. They know that if you can't handle failure, you don't deserve victory. That's why they welcome it, they embrace it, they use it. The average person wants the trophy without the trials. The champion wants the trials because they know that's where transformation happens. Each time they fall and get back up, they're not just growing stronger. They're proving to themselves that they're unstoppable, and that's what makes them different. The average mindset runs from failure. The champion mindset runs through it, because they understand one unshakable truth. Failure doesn't destroy the great. It defines them. The 10th and final key difference between the average and the champion mindset lies in their vision. The average person looks at what is. The champion sees what can be. The average lives for the moment. The champion lives for the mission. The average person is driven by circumstance. The champion is driven by purpose. This is the deepest separation, the one that determines everything else, because vision is not just sight. It's foresight. It's seeing what doesn't yet exist and refusing to stop until it does. The average person lets their environment define their limits. They look at their background, their past, their current struggles, and they say, "This is all I can do." But the champion looks at the same reality and says, "This is where I start, not where I end." They don't let where they are stop them from seeing where they're going. The average sees walls, the champion sees doors waiting to be opened. The average sees obstacles, the champion sees opportunities to grow stronger. They live by faith, not by sight. Vision is the fuel that keeps the champion alive when everything else runs out. It's what gets them up in the morning and what keeps them awake at night. The average person wakes up reacting to life. The champion wakes up creating life. They already see the victory before they start the battle. They already taste the reward before the work is done. That's why their energy is different. That's why their focus is unshakable, because they're not chasing applause. They're chasing alignment with the purpose burning inside them. The average person lets time slip by, waiting for clarity, waiting for permission, waiting for a perfect moment. The champion doesn't wait. They move. They act while others hesitate. They understand that vision only becomes reality when you take steps in faith. They know that progress creates clarity, so they walk even when the path isn't clear. They push even when the world doubts them. They fight for a dream no one else can see because the vision belongs to them. The average mind is satisfied with small wins. They stop when they've achieved something good enough. But the champion mind, it never settles, not out of greed, but out of growth, because their vision is always bigger than themselves. They're not just chasing success, They're chasing significance. They don't just want to win the race. They want to change the track for those who come after. They want to leave something that lasts longer than applause, longer than fame. Their vision is legacy, and when the storms come, and they always do, the average person loses direction because they never had a true vision guiding them. But the champion, the storm, doesn't scare them. It strengthens them because they've already seen the destination in their spirit. They've already seen the end from the beginning. Their faith in that vision keeps them standing when everyone else falls. That's the final difference. The average looks around, the champion looks ahead. The average focuses on now, the champion focuses on next. The average sees limits, the champion sees destiny, because vision gives power, direction, and meaning. And once a person has a vision that consumes their heart, they can't go back to being average. They move differently, think differently, fight differently, because they know exactly where they're going, and no one, not pain, not failure, not fear, can stop them from getting there. So here's the truth. Average isn't your destiny. It never was. You weren't created to live halfway, to dream halfway, or to fight halfway. You were made to rise, to conquer, to dominate the space between who you are and who you were born to be. The difference between the average and the champion mind, it isn't in talent, luck, or opportunity. It's in decision. Every day, you decide who you'll be. Every choice, every habit, every response is either building your legacy or burying it. The champion mindset doesn't live in someone else. It lives in you. It's waiting for you to wake it up. It's waiting for you to stop making excuses and start making moves. You don't need permission to become great. You just need to commit. Commit to the pain, commit to the process, commit to the purpose. Because once you do, once you refuse to quit, refuse to doubt, refuse to settle, there's nothing and no one that can stop you. You can't control how you started, but you can control how you finish. And champions finish strong. They finish what others fear to start. They push through the fatigue, through the failures, through the fear, because they know their story isn't over until they win. So right here, right now, make that decision. Don't talk about it. Don't dream about it. Be about it. Stop thinking like the average and start moving like the champion, because the world doesn't need another person playing small. It needs the real you, the powerful you, the relentless you. Every second you hesitate, average wins. Every time you take action, the champion rises. So rise up, stand tall, lock in. This is your time. This is your season. You were never meant to be ordinary. You were meant to be unstoppable.